that I finally decided to really do a real research project on this. Okay, what can we do about war? What can we talk about it? And then I started following down a couple of paths. I started looking into the profit motive. Who profits from this? The obvious people are the armaments manufacturers. They make a lot of money. The lenders who loan money to governments to buy the arms, to fight the wars. So you have certain people who profit. Then you have, and that kind of led to reading Machiavelli. Machiavelli wrote about how princes during his time would they would conquer a region, and then they would set up little factions that kind of secretly go in there and have their little agent provocateurs kind of start these little groups to fight each other. And the reason for that is you get a political advantage in that the people become too weakened to fight the real oppressor, the real occupier, because they're so involved in squabbling amongst themselves. So it's been an actual documented political tool. So those are the three motives that you kind of find that are a little bit more behind the scenes, but that play a big role in a lot of warfare.
Well, I wanted to add, Mr. Bramley, that I found that when I was reading that chapter in your book, I've found that through my research, I found these different groups like the Council for National Policy, a secretive right-wing group that's connected to the Jesuit order and the Knights of Malta and all these different things. And I started seeing these connections where they're doing the same thing today. They set up these different groups that you have the Tea Party or you have whatever have you, and they set up these divide and conquer groups and they get people to pick a side. So ultimately, it's average everyday citizens on the right wing over here fighting against average everyday citizens on the left wing over here. And instead of going and finding out who the enslavers are, we're fighting with each other. So they're doing that still to this day, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it absolutely looks that way. What happened was, though, that but I still couldn't understand, well, why do individuals fight, who have no benefit from this? You take some young guy who's 20 years old and you throw a gun on him, and what does he have to gain? I mean, the only thing he has to gain is he's going to get killed. I mean, in some countries like the United States, okay, they try to maybe provide a college education, they get a roof over their head or something. But, who's really going to go out there and risk their life just for that? In other words, there's more for the bread and butter fighters, the guys who actually do the actual fighting and actually pick up the guns. There really is very seldom a profit motive. And what you find is they get stimulated by ideology. It could be like intense nationalism. Religion is a big player in this. And so I started looking at that. Well, okay, what are these ideologies that get people to actually pick up the gun and start shooting? And I happened to decide to go down the religion track, because that's the one we look at a lot.
Yes.
Okay, and there's a certain kind of religion that really seems to trigger this in people. It tends to be this apocalyptic, kind of radical, we are chosen by God and you're not kind of religion. And so we're just sort of bombarded with this all the time, constantly, from cradle to grave. We're just bombarded with it. And ultimately, it's very artificial. If you really look at the origins of problems and the problems that bother us, like the financial system, the problem of war, these problems, from a really technical point of view, they're really, really easy to fix. It's like you can very, very easily solve.
Sure.
Really, from a technical point of view. But actually getting it changed, that's tough, because now you're dealing with people's motivations. You're dealing with power structures. That's what's hard. And that's what makes the change hard. Not the fact that, the financial problems are sort of this inevitable product of, what we do. We're sort of presented to us this way. Well, we spend too much, we do this and do that.
But it's designed that way. It's designed to fail.
It is. It's designed to keep collapsing. And to blow up and to expand, collapse, because again, it seems to be okay. Well, that's part of the system. People maybe don't read anything sinister into that. They just say, well, that's just the way it is. It's just the way money is. On the other hand, tracing it, I see it linked to this fact that people now have to struggle again. Like people, they were secure in their mortgages. They were secure in their homes. They didn't have to worry about the price of gas too much. And now all of a sudden that's gone away for a lot of people, but that seems to be the program, to always inject that anxiety, and that's just one of the tools for doing that.
What I mean, your reaction over the past, I don't know, a couple of decades here since you originally wrote the book, the things that we've seen play out on the world stage, things from the war in Afghanistan, Iraq, 9/11, the financial collapse. I mean, the things that have occurred in the time since you researched and have written this book had to have been just mind-blowing for you. And as you talked about predicting what the next threat was going to be, I mean, these things had to have been real affirmations of your research, Mr. Bramley.
Yeah, unfortunately they have, because the sources of all of these conflicts are ultimately the same as the kind of sources I talk about in the Gods of Eden. For example, I talk about the inflatable money system, which actually arose out of these obscure origins that seem to trace to these weird secret societies. And now that's what we're dealing with today. And yeah, so it seems like one of the purposes or one of the objectives of this whole machination is just to keep people toiling. It's just to keep people struggling all the time, just for their physical existence, just to kind of keep food in their mouths and do all of that. That seems to be part of it, because what that does is it gives you less time then to really think about spiritual questions, to kind of think about the bigger issues. I mean, if you're worried about where your next meal is going to come from, or if your house is about to foreclose, that's where your focus is going to be.